Okay, late to the party as usual, but I had to show up personally for this. Welcome to Tabu Talk. I'm Space Dreamer the Second. You can call me SD2. Today, I'm discussing the first presidential debate between President Joe Biden and former President Donald J. Trump. For those of you who watched the debate, where was President Biden? I heard he had a cold. Maybe they shouldn't give him the meds before he goes on stage in front of the world. I'm sad for this debate because Biden didn't do well. I get he has a stutter. Maybe he was nervous, but wow.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person uh, eligible for what I've been able to do with with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, number three, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate operations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact of on the we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
So, what did President Biden think of his performance?
Let's give you the response from Mr. Biden himself. Asked by a reporter how he thought he did during Thursday's debate during a post-game stop at Waffle House in
I love the
Atlanta,
Waffle House.
President Joe Biden said, "I thought we did well." Pressed further to respond to the growing calls for him to drop out of the race after a performance that has been widely characterized as an unmitigated disaster by pundits, Biden said, "No, it's hard to debate a liar." He also addressed rumors that his hoarse voice was due to cold symptoms by acknowledging, "I have a sore throat." We heard that throughout the debate.
I'll give him points for actually answering the question. Trump, on the other hand, I don't believe anything that came from his mouth was true. They could have asked him his name and he would have lied. I don't think he would recognize the truth if it crawled up his leg and bit him in the taint. He completely turned the debate into a rally. So let's do some fact checking, which they should have did during the debate. But CNN didn't want to. Oh, and they also gave Trump a lot of leeway. I know their new owner is quite right wing, but when you try to seem non biased, you end up being just that, biased.
So, Daniel, what stands out to you?
What stood out was the staggering number of false claims from former President Trump. On first count, Aaron, I counted at least 30 false claims. Now, President Biden also made false claims, at least 9 false or misleading statements on first count. I'll give you some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he'd supported, never endorsed him himself. In fairness, the president did appear to clarify that one. Now, the Trump list. It is way, way longer. So
Of course
deep
it
breath.
is.
He said some Democratic states allow people to execute babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state. He said
Nobody
everybody,
does
even
that.
Democrats, wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3 of Americans, even more Democrats. He said every legal scholar wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record trade deficit with China. That also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion in Ukraine aid. It's closer to $110 billion. He said 18 or 19 million people have crossed the border under Biden. That is millions too high. He said many of these migrants are from prisons or mental institutions. His own campaign cannot corroborate this. He said Biden has only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the DC Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars, just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up. He said Biden made up the idea he called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump chief of staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years, though he did at least once speak of, quote, predators without specifying it was about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness, Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie, I don't know how many times I've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law.
That was
Barack
Obama.
Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018. And finally, Trump said Biden got rid of that Veterans Program. Biden has not done that.
Now, folks,
Quite an exhaustive list. The next day, they both held rallies. I don't care about Trump, but Biden? Dude, where was that energy last night? I'm all on board with the Biden Harris train, but I'm going to need you to keep that same energy for the next debate in September if it indeed happens. Now, I'm sorry. Now I'm not going to show you the entire speech for time.
I don't know what you did last night, but I spent 90 minutes on the stage debating a guy who has the morals of an alley cat. Did you see Trump last night? My guess, he said, I mean it sincerely, a new record for the most lies told in a single debate.
Believable.
He lied about the great economy he created. He lied about the pandemic he botched, killing millions of people. He closed businesses. He closed schools.
Keep in mind, this was like 15 hours later. Apparently, that cold medicine they gave him made him feel much better.
Losing their homes, people all over this country. America's flat on its back. So I told Trump that he was just one of 2 presidents in American history who left office with fewer jobs than he started. Herbert Hoover was the other one. That's why I call him Donald Herbert Hoover Trump.
No. You're going to need to massage that and come out with something better. I don't like it.
And then he lied about how great he was for veterans. But then I told him how he had called a veteran and given their lives in the country in World War I and refused to go to the grave sites. He called them suckers and losers. He tried to deny it. But let me ask you, are you going to believe a 4-star Marine general, his own former chief of staff, John Kelly, who said he said that? Or the disgraced, defeated and lying Donald Trump? My son was one of those people, not a World War I, but in folks, look. How about the fact that 44 How about the fact that's okay. How about the fact that 40 out of his 44 top advisors, including the vice president, aren't supporting him this time around? The people who know him best, 40 of them said, I will not support the man I work for this time around. It tells you a lot about the person who knows him.
Indeed,
Look,
it does.
he lied about how great he was on crime. I had to remind him that he oversaw a record increase in murder rates in 2020. On my watch, violent crime has hit a 50-year low. There's more to do with a 50-year low. And then I pointed out that the only convicted criminal on the stage last night was Donald Trump.
Glad you let him know that.
When I thought about his 34 felony convictions, his sexual assault on a woman in a public place, his being fined $400 million for business fraud, I thought to myself, Donald Trump isn't just a convicted felon. Donald Trump is a one-man crime wave.
Amen. Amen, brother. Amen.
Well, don't take my word for it. Folks, let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know.
Let's go, Joe.
Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know.
What do
I
you
know how to tell the truth.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that.
I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job.
Do it,
I
Joe.
know how to get things done.
Do it, Joe.
And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Get up. They can't keep you down. Get up.
I know what it took to take our economy from the depths of the pandemic to where it is today, the strongest economy in the world. I know what it'll take to bring this economy to everybody. I know what it'll take to rally the world, to stand up against Putin and defend freedom, not yield to him.
Rally the world.
And I know what it'll take to keep the world safe and free for the years ahead. Folks, I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job. Because quite frankly, the stakes are too high. The stakes are too high.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat for everything America stands for. Look, he doesn't understand what I think all of you do. America is the finest, the most unique nation in the world. We're the only nation in the world, and I mean this sincerely. It's a fact statement, not a hyperbolic statement. It's fact. We're the only nation in the world built on an idea. All the nations built on ethnicity, geography, and other religion. But we're built on an idea that we're all created equal. We deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives.
Amen to
We've
Jesus.
never fully lived up, and I'll be damned in the year 2024, just 2 years. Just 2 years before the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence, that I'll let Donald Trump walk away from it.
Because he can't.
Okay. That right there, that we just watched right there is the kind of energy we need for you, Joe. From you. Reflecting back on the debate, what might have been the issue? Does he need an audience? Like, really? Does he need to be able to speak without constraints? Let's see.
Comport himself, we're gonna now. I know. Here's a great idea. Let's put a timer on it and we'll cut the mics. When you have someone who has successfully navigated a speech impediment their entire life, they've lived with it for decades. One thing any first year speech therapist would tell you, someone in training, you don't put a timer on them and put them in the blocks and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. That's not what you do. How do we know that that was the problem last night? Did you see him right after? Did you see him 15 hours later? Big rally? Oh, doesn't appear there's anything different going on here. His team, number two, failed him. You thought that you were being cute calling for this debate and putting certain rules and cutting mics and timers. CNN thought they were being cute when they decided we're not going to fact check. So if you're going to throw in the towel, then don't call yourself the media. Yes, Joe Biden has a responsibility to respond to this liar. But the greatest, I don't care if you're Mensa, in the world would need some help with this. He talked about murdering babies, and no one said anything. He said he talked to Vladimir Putin before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine and said, you know what, Donnie, I'm thinking about going after Ukraine. He said Vladimir Putin confessed the whole thing. Nobody caught it. Nobody said a word. Well, how do you debate a liar? And I'm not forgiving Joe Biden's performance. Donald Trump said one thing, Mayor, that I thought was accidentally honest. Joe Biden, loyal Joe, Scranton Joe, he does need to fire some people. This was a colossal misstep. And who's going to be left holding the bag? No winners, like you said, us.
Okay. I'm going to end this here. This is the part where I ask you to like and subscribe. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a comment and let me know what I can do to make it better. Hope to see you in the next one. Deuces.